Okay, apparently I'm live. Let's see. Can I hear me? What's the quality like? I don't know. Can anyone hear me? I have no idea if we're actually live. So, just off the off chance we are actually live and people can hear me. Hello. Hope you're all doing well. It's very, very weird times. So I thought I'd steal someone's idea. So thank you to everyone saying this is a great idea. It certainly is, but it's definitely not my idea. So Ariel Adams of A Blog to Watch, he's been doing this for 11 days now, each and every day. Pretty good idea, I think. I have no idea. Yes, I think you can all hear me. So pretty good idea, and what he does, he just gets a load of watches out and just picks them up, talks about them, takes questions, answers them, things like that. So I think we should do something similar and just see where it goes and see what people want to know and talk about watches. You never know, we might not even really talk about watches. Sort of how this goes sometimes. So let me put that I am live on Instagram and we'll see what happens. So how's everyone doing? How's everyone getting on during this lockdown? I assume most people are in lockdown who are watching this. I think half of the world's population is in lockdown. So crazy times, crazy times. Let's put it up. Alright, that's on Instagram now. And let's begin. So, where shall we begin? We should probably start with a wristwatch check, as they call it, showing what's on wrist. So I'm using a webcam for this, so I don't know how well this is actually going to perform, to be honest. There we go. It does have autofocus, so it's just a case of waiting for it to kick in. Yeah. So basically this is a very rudimentary setup. I have a webcam propped up on a load of books at the moment, pointing at my desk with all the watches on the table. So we'll have to adapt with this. Obviously I don't have access to all of the equipment I usually have, and maybe we'll make this a proper series and bring YouTube back, like I've been saying for a long time. But on wrist is my Seiko Turtle. This is the Save the Ocean edition. It's the crazy blue dial with the waves on it. Really cool watch. And I think for the price of these, they offer so much value. You know, I've got it back on the OEM bracelet, and I did buy a aftermarket sort of beads of rice option, which I'll be putting on a different turtle I have at some point, because I've got a few of these. So yeah. Peter Smith, hello, how are you doing? Bored but enjoying my Tudor Black Bay GMT. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It is a cool watch, a very cool watch. You can't really go wrong value-wise with the Black Bay GMT, and I think we've got a couple of GMT options on the table right now. I think we only actually have one. Yes, one GMT, actually two GMTs. I've got the Bromont. Jesus Christ, this lockdown. This is like the first time I've spoke using words in a while. I have the Bremont Supermarine, which is not focusing at all. Let's try and... There we go, you can kind of see it. It's got a really cool bezel, sapphire bezel, with a really cool inlay. These are just really great watches. I think Bremont offer a lot of value for money, and I think we're going to see them hopefully do more cool things like this. I've got a couple of Bremonts at the moment. Just sold the Airco recently, which arrived with its new owner yesterday. So still selling watches, still shipping them out and all that good stuff, but a really cool watch. And the other GMT I have on the table at the moment is the Fears. So Nicholas over at Fears, really good friend of mine. This is the Fears Redcliffe Continental. It's a quartz watch, but a really nice watch nonetheless. And the GMT is actually down there at the bottom, independently settable, if that's how you say it. And just a really cool watch overall, and it wears really great. I'll put it on wrist and show you guys. So Nicholas did a post not long ago saying don't buy a Fears watch, and it sort of exploded on his Instagram, and rightfully so. Really great message that he put out there about sort of supporting smaller businesses, and now maybe isn't the time to be buying a Fears watch or a watch in general, which is quite an interesting subject. I obviously my business revolves around selling watches, so I think if you have the financial means to be buying watches right now and you want to buy a watch, then go ahead, buy a watch. But if you are in a position where you're uncertain of what the future holds, then now probably isn't the time to buy a watch, in all honesty. But yeah, lots of watches on the table. You know, feel free to ask some questions if you see something on the table that you want to ask about. Go ahead, but I'll quickly show one of my latest watches, a Gekota. This is the P01. It has a really cool dial texture. I really need to figure out this camera. I am very sorry, everyone. I will figure this out soon, hopefully, and be able to bring you a better quality video. Until then, you'll have to put up with my absolutely awful, absolutely awful angles and everything like that, but we will get there. So this P01 features a Seiko movement, which is their Mecha Quartz. So it has a very satisfying sweep, as you can see in complete focus. There we go. Maybe that's what I need to do. I really can't tell. Really nice movement. It's a basic quartz, but it has the Mecha Quartz feature, which is a high beat, and it pauses and resets snapback like a mechanical chronograph. Very, very cool. So yeah, I've got quite a few of my personal watches out at the moment, as well as some stock. These are two really cool options. I've got my own personal Zenith Defy, which a lot of people have taken a lot of interest in recently. A lot of questions about it when I put up my own personal collection on Instagram. So you can see on here 1976 Zenith Defy, which is just a really, really cool watch. Integrated bracelet, very Gerald Genta-esque in its design. And then over on the left over here, or my left, you have the Zenith El Primero. TV screen, big blue, it's got loads of nicknames. Really cool. Really cool. Lisa, how come we haven't seen you on YouTube lately? The truth is, I've been focusing 100% on just building the business, and YouTube is a vital part of that I plan to definitely bring back and sort of do videos more. Much better than this, that's for sure, but right now, just because of the current situation, I don't have access to, you know, good camera equipment and everything like that, so we're going bare bones with this, so you'll have to forgive me. But I do plan to bring it back, and I do plan to bring some series back and talk about a lot of things, and, you know, give my opinion and expertise where requested, and we'll just sort of take it from there, really. And obviously, having a nice setup, I wanted to do this properly. Obviously, I need to figure out this camera big time, because it's just not working as intended at all. So you'll have to forgive me, guys, but yeah, that's the reason I've not been on YouTube. I do plan to bring it back. Like I said, there's a lot of videos on there. Are you still working at Beaverbrookes? No, I left Beaverbrookes 6 months ago now. I've been doing this full time. So I've got my own office in Clerkenwell, where you can view any watches you see. Obviously not right now, we're currently in lockdown, as everyone knows. But I don't work at Beaverbrookes anymore. I work for myself. We'll see how long for. Obviously, with everything going on, I might be getting a job just to sort of continue paying the bills in the meantime without taking a penny out of the business. So we'll sort of see from there. But yeah, any questions, anything, you know, feel free to ask them. More than happy to answer them. I probably should have been a bit more prepared with some subjects, but we'll sort of take it as it is and enjoy a coffee and talk watches. Might even see about getting a few people on the show. Doesn't matter, we can still see the watches. Good. So in terms of what I plan to do here, obviously this is very unplanned and very off the cuff, which isn't a bad thing, you know. I think as questions come in, it will get definitely more interesting. But I might do this most days during the lockdown, maybe separate into, you know, just having dive watches on the table and talking about dive watches, and then just chronographs or just vintage, you know, switching and swapping here and there, taking subjects and making it more focused. This is more just to test the sort of the live stream and see how it goes, really. See if the internet can hold it for one, and if people actually want this and are interested. Because the good thing about these is it continues on YouTube even after this, so it will always be there. Damn, from gameplay videos to full-time doing his dream, madness. How you doing, Dazman? Yes, so for those of you that don't know, I've been building this business for 4 or 5 years, I'd say. And you know, it was always a dream to become full-time in this and do my own thing. The way that happened and the circumstances were definitely not what I was expecting, but then again, it never goes on a straight path, and that's with anything in life. It will switch and swap, you'll go down different alleys and all kinds of different things to get to where you want to get to. But I used to do a lot of different things. You know, I used to work door-to-door sales, I used to flip burgers, I've done 1,000,001 different things before watches, and one of those was playing video games. I used to stream video games on Twitch, and I used to have a fairly decent following. You know, it was quite fun, and I have been considering maybe doing some gaming streams again back on my old profile and just see what old familiar faces pop up to watch me play. Anyone who's still on there. You know, I used to play a lot of Call of Duty and different things, so you never know. I might start streaming video games again on Twitch. So we will see. But it's good to see you here, Dasman. It's crazy how it's gone, and it's good to see an old name as well. Still got the Ulysse Nardin. Yes, still have the Ulysse Nardin. It's not on the table at the moment. It's the Camo Freak, which is a really cool sort of watch. I'm gonna try something and let's see if this works, because if it does, I think this could be pretty cool. Okay, so I can go on my website, and you should be able to see me on my website, and if this works, then that's pretty good. So the watch that's being referred to is on here somewhere. There it is. The Ulysse Nardin Marine Diver. So it's a really cool watch, camo dial, limited to 50 pieces. The sort of cool textured bezel. I've had a few people say it's very similar to the Yachtmaster. In terms of having an embossed bezel, any brand that does an embossed bezel, everyone always says it looks like a Yachtmaster. However, this is not like a Yachtmaster really. But limited to 50 pieces. Really cool watch, really cool texturing, and it's just a cool looking watch. I quite like it. It hasn't sold yet, and it is priced at $3.9, which is quite fair. But yeah, so a few people say, "Oh God, that's me. I don't want to hear me." Yo, hello, Chris. How you doing? Watch this Space 82. Really cool guy. What's your dream watch? My dream watch is the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak. It's actually the reference 15202 ST, which is the smaller sort of version without the seconds hand, and it's kind of what drew me to this 1976 Zenith Defy that I personally own. I traded this watch. I got this watch by trading a Tissot Visidate, brand new, with another Instagrammer who a lot of people will probably know, and I saw him post this and I was like, I love that, but right now I'm broke. And he's like, I saw you got the Tissot Visidate. I've been wanting one of those for a while. Will you do a straight swap? And I was like, absolutely yes. So I did a straight swap for a modern Tissot Visidate, pretty new condition, for a 1976 Zenith Defy. Probably a very bad trade on his part, but he was happy with the Visidate. So I've owned this for quite a while. Really like it. Yeah. Hello Enzo, how you doing? How you doing, mate? From Brothers in Time, really great guys, great watches for sale, and both of them are very cool. Hello Mark, how are you doing? Hey up, my dad's in the stream. What up? My dad is a big collector of services, so I have a really cool services right here. This is a services heirist, and again, to anyone who's just tuned in, you'll have to forgive the terrible video quality and the terrible setup. I mean, we are all locked down, so I'm using a webcam and I'm making do with what I've got. So this watch, I'm going to see, there we go. So it focuses on the services, but it won't focus on anything else. Oh no, I spoke too soon. God damn it, James. So my dad's a big collector of services, and this is a really interesting brand because you can pick these up still relatively cheap, mostly under £100. A few of them go over £100. And they were originally made in Leicester, which is where I'm from, to those of you who know a bit about my backstory. So it's very cool to have that connection, one with Leicester in a watch, and sort of quite a cool vintage watch. A lot of them used Oris calibers. I believe an Oris caliber is in this, and also it's kind of cool to collect a similar brand to what my dad collects. My dad has this exact watch as well, so it's kind of cool. Next time we see each other, we'll both have to wear this and do some father and son wrist shots. I mean, we both got turtles as well, which is quite cool. I mean, my turtle is definitely better. He's got the standard Pepsi, what do you call it, paddy turtle. I mean, this is obviously better, isn't it? You know. It's a cool watch. It's a cool watch. So what's everyone saying? Do ladies' watches have just as good mechanical movements in them as men's? It varies. Obviously, there's a lot of ladies' mechanical watches. For the most part, yes, because it uses the same, as far as I'm aware, the same sort of technology, just in a much smaller case. That's all really. So it's miniaturized even further than what we miniaturize already, you know, in a mechanical watch. So yes, yeah, there should be. So the thing with ladies' watches is, and the reason I don't really stock ladies' watches is there unfortunately isn't as many ladies who buy ladies' watches pre-owned. Most ladies who I have on sort of my client list, they buy men's watches and gents' watches because there isn't really, you know, a distinction anymore. I know a lot of women who own Bremonts. Now, this is a really cool Bremont, the Supermarine, and if anything, I'd say it's on the borderline for a bit too big for me, but I know a lot of women with far smaller wrists than me who wear Bremonts and they like the bigger watches, and I think bigger watches look great on women. Chris Thorne, how you doing? Have you seen any have you seen any of the Oris Aquis GMT Date or Pro Pilot Cal 114 on the second-hand market yet? Are they trading much below retail? I haven't actually. The Aquis GMT, the GMT Dates, I'm trying to think of which exact one you mean. I'm pretty sure I know the one. They pop up every now and again, and they do trade under retail. The thing with Oris is they're a really cool brand, but they don't trade above retail most of the time. There's very few that do. I had the Carl Brashear, which is the bronze watch, very similar to this actually, the Christopher Ward. Which they're all kind of based on the same sort of thing that Tudor did with the Booker, and Carl Brashear was one of the first actually with the blue and bronze along with the Panerai. So a lot of them followed suit. But my point is, Oris don't usually trade above retail. Most of the time trade far below retail. Well, not far below, but definitely below. So if you're looking for a sort of deal, something you can enjoy and wear and then maybe flip at some point, try and buy Oris pre-owned. If you're looking for a watch to keep and enjoy for the rest of your life, then obviously go retail. Or if you can get a good deal at retail, discounts on Oris usually happen, so you should be able to get them. What do you think, Hublot Classic Fusion Chronograph or Rolex Yachtmaster? They're very, very different watches. I had a Hublot Classic Fusion Titanium, not the chronograph, and it was gorgeous. I think massively underrated and massively hated on, just the same as Tag Heuer. I have this Acroracer right here, and these just get shit on, and they shouldn't, because the what it offers is incredible, in my opinion. I think you get a lot of watch for the money. It's just the fact that it says Tag Heuer that a lot of people go off of it, and it's the same with Hublot. And yes, Hublot do some garish, horrible watches, but the Classic Fusion, in my opinion, is quite a nice watch. Yes, you're paying a lot and you're getting a basic movement, but if you are buying for aesthetics and for your personal, you know, enjoyment, then what does it matter? What does it matter what's inside? I had the Rolex Yachtmaster, the 116622. No, sorry, 16622. Pre the new updates and everything. They're really cool watches. I've always liked the Yachtmaster. The 116622 grey dial with, I'm going to try and find it and then show you guys. The rhodium dial with blue is a grail watch of mine. I think it's a really cool watch. Let me show you which one I'm talking about, although I think most of you will know. This one right here. So you've got the really nice grey, rhodium grey with a really vibrant blue, a kind of blue that you just don't expect Rolex to do, on with a platinum bezel, and they do it with blue and red. Both really great watches. I've tried these on and many times actually, and I think it's a really, really nice watch. It's a nice alternative to the Rolex Submariner. But in regards to your question on whether you'd go for that or the Classic Fusion Hublot, I think they're two very different watches, so go for what you prefer, definitely. And I've got a Submariner here, so similar to the Yachtmaster, but very different at the same time. Much different case profile, polished and soft edges and everything like that. Between this and the Yachtmaster, I would actually personally go with the Yachtmaster. I think it's a nicer watch and you don't see it as often, and yeah. So I hope that answers your question, but go with what you want, for sure. For sure. Love. My dad says he loves his paddy tail. I mean, I'm in love with this. I think it's awesome. And the textured bezel, again, guys, you'll have to forgive me. I will figure out this camera and everything for the next one. But the texture on this bezel is really cool. And the dial texture as well. Just cool watch, cool watch. Leicester City have done well in the Premier League this season. You know what? I don't watch football. So I will take your word for it, and I'm glad Leicester City are doing well. On the table, what watch would you wear most often? Good question. So, what watch would I wear on the table? I mean, I love all of them, but I'd have to go with probably one of my personal watches, either my 1976 Zenith Defy, just an all-round awesome watch. I love it. I would go with something absolutely bonkers like this El Primero TV screen blue dial integrated bracelet, you know, just a bonkers watch. Or, and I know I'm cheating here because I'm choosing a million, the Dark Side of the Moon. I think this is so underrated, and I think this is going to be a massive future collectible. Obviously not for many, many years, but it's just an overall really, really cool watch. You know, all black ceramic. It's a 44mm case, but it's only 1mm longer lug to lug, so it wears well. Do you think it's fair when people say Tudor a poor man's Rolex? We will move on to that. That's a good question. Hello Navsan, how you doing, man? Long time no see. What does he say? Dude, where is your coffee? Isn't that what YouTubers have to put on camera? I know. I mean, I have got a coffee and never put coffee over watches, but here we go. Look at my mug. My Kibble watches mugs are all at the office, so I have my my paw print mug, like proper going at it. But I am enjoying my coffee. But yeah, you can see the way it wears on wrist is really, really good. Really, really good. 44mm case size, but 1mm longer lug to lug. So wrist ergonomics is actually very similar to the normal Speedmaster. And it's one thing I put lug to lug dimension on every watch on the website because everyone focuses on the case size. Yes, it's important, but the lug to lug is far more important in my opinion, and it depends on the profile of your wrist. I've got quite a flat wrist. I haven't got big wrist, but I've got flat wrist, which means I can wear quite big watches and longer watches, as well as obviously small watches. But my wrists are quite thin, but I don't know how to explain. You guys get what I mean. I'm not what's his name at Watchbox with the 16 3/4 inch circumference wrist, centimeter wrist, whatever he says. Guy's a genius. So in regards to your question, Lisa, about Tudor poor man's Rolex, I completely disagree. I think they obviously offer an alternative to Rolex to people who want that alternative. So to those people who are looking for the alternative, I think it will be considered an affordable alternative to Rolex, but poor man's Rolex definitely not. I mean, these watches are still multiple thousands. So, I mean, anyone who says that that's a poor anything, I think are just talking shit. But yeah, so in regards to the watches, I think they offer enough difference and enough of their own core values to be deemed completely different to Rolex. That being said, I do think the Rolex GMT is coming back to the case that they used to be, where they used to make poor man's Rolexes, right? And that's where the term came from. It came from the 80s and 90s specifically, where Tudor used to make exact watches that Rolex made with more affordable movements and slightly less in the terms of materials, right? So you would get a Rolex Day-Date in gold, obviously, and you could get a Tudor Day, as they used to call them, in stainless steel with an ETA movement and everything like that, much reduced cost. And it used to be the exact same watch, apart from one would say Tudor. In most cases, they even had the same bracelet, so it'd be a Rolex signed bracelet, Rolex signed crown, Rolex signed caseback, etc., etc. So back then they were a sort of Rolex, take it apart, put cheaper things in, here you go. So it kind of was that back then, but not anymore. I think what they offer is completely separate for themselves, in my opinion. James, what do you think? Why do you think a lot of people hate on Tag Heuer? A lot of people hate on Tag Heuer because it's easy to hate on, right? I think we live in a world full of Instagram and full of everyone hyping up the same watches and everyone wanting to own the same watches and wanting to brag about the fact that they have this, that and the other. And in a world like that, it's very easy for everyone just to follow suit with everyone else. A lot of people don't even know why they hate Tag Heuer. They'll refer to stuff like the 90s where they use Seiko movements and declare it. I mean, there's been scandals with loads of brands. I mean, Bremont did a similar thing by claiming they had an in-house movement when they didn't. Yet people still really love Bremont. Obviously, there's haters for them as well. I just think it's a lot of people just riding a wave of hating a brand without experiencing or really knowing why they hate them. What you're getting here is basically an ETA 2824 inside. It's called the Caliber 5. It's either that or a Sellita SW200, more along the lines of a SW200. Getting a ceramic bezel, really nice textured dial, 200 meters water resistant. Comes on a bracelet or this rubber strap that I have it on. I don't have the bracelet, but you got the rubber strap. And I think these watches are very good value. At retail, of course, anything retail is a question of how badly you want it, in my opinion. You know, you could look at a Rolex Submariner. Actually, that's a terrible example because it's more pre-owned. You could look at a Seamaster 300 ceramic, right? At retail, you could argue it's not a good value because you can get it X price pre-owned. So it really depends on what you value, right? But in regards to Tag Heuer pre-owned, they offer great value. Now, that being said, I don't personally like the Formula 1 series. I think the Formula 1 series is bad value. I think the quality and the material and the fact they still use pressed clasps and all these other factors, I do think it's an overpriced watch, the F1. Whereas once you get to the Aqua Racer, the Carrera, the Altavia, the Monaco, things like that, I think pre-owned, they are good value, and I think they shouldn't be shit on as much as they are. But again, just my opinion. So there you go. I'll go for the blue dial on both, says Miles Ahead. Are you referring to the your question earlier, I think? Navsan, I think you're thinking of Bark and Jack. Hello, what you done? Bark and Jack, yes, good guy, good guy. Such a classic, that dial is incredible. What's your favourite blend of coffee? Blend of coffee? What are you on about, Dad? Instant quick with a bit of milk. Sorted. I mean, I do like a caramel latte as well. Can't lie. Always have that. Totally agree. Lug to lug is neglected so often. Massively. I mean, you can look at watches that are actually 40mm case size, but longer lug to lug than, let's say, this 44mm case size, and this wears better. It's just, you can't really base them off the case size, in my opinion. That is my opinion. Like, this is a 43mm case size, but it wears quite well, because the lug to lug isn't that of a typical 43 that you'd expect. Now, it is a big watch, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't wear too bad. Like, I could pull that off, in my opinion. Pick out the single coolest watch on the table. Coolest watch, it's a clash, in my opinion, between the Dark Side of the Moon in black ceramic and this freaking awesome 70s Zenith El Primero TV screen, big blue. It's got a million nicknames. I mean, this is just such a cool watch, and I have a soft spot for Zenith. It's got rocker pushers that are like built into the case, so it doesn't look like they're pushers at all. So these are the actual pushers. It's mental. Integrated bracelet. It's just a cool watch, massively underrated. I think we're going to see a surgence of Zenith in the next few years. Hopefully not even that long. Cheers, Ransom. No problem. Go ahead, ask questions. How's the Gekota going? I love it. I think it's really cool. I think a lot of value for money, and we always talk about value for money in this trade, and everyone always says about it. I always say about it. I mean, it's probably in every single post I ever put. But this watch does offer a lot of value for money when you consider the quality, you consider the finishing of the dial and the textures and everything like that. It offers a lot. Now, sure, it's a quartz movement. There isn't a running second hand, so you don't even know it's quartz most of the time. It's a mecha quartz, so when you are running the chronograph, it's running like a mechanical watch. Sorry guys about this light, it's terrible. It snaps back like a mechanical watch. It's a cool watch. I mean, £139. What else can you get for £139? That's just as cool in a chronograph. I mean, you've got the Seagull options, you've got the Alpha, which are really cool, granted. I think it's just a nice alternative to those. So yeah, if you have a 6-inch wrist, but it's more round than flat, which size watch should you look at? So a 6-inch wrist. So I have a 6 3/4-inch wrist, and flat. Or more round than flat. Okay, so I mean, it's tough to say. It depends on what you prefer, right? Some people don't mind if a lug to lug hangs off the sides. They just don't mind how it looks. And also some watches, like this is the perfect example. It's a massive watch. I mean, look at the size. And same with the Turtle. It's a huge watch, but the lug to lug length and the way it curves are so small. So it's a real tough one to say. I would say you've got to try Stefan. You got to try Stefan and get a feel, because if you look at the dimensions of this Turtle on paper, it sounds ridiculous. You're like, why would anyone wear a watch that size? I mean, it's like 46mm, but on wrist it wears perfectly. So try them on. I know you can't right now because you're in lockdown, but when we're out, then try them on. Lots of nice pieces there. Thank you very much, Kevin. How is everyone doing during this lockdown? Everyone keeping sane? What you all doing? You just playing with your watches? I know I certainly am. I mean, it's good fun. It's good fun. What is the black chrono I can see? Is it this? Is this the one? So this is the Speedmaster 57 coaxial. So 1957, Speedmaster was released, and it had straight lugs. Is commonly known as the Ed White. Well, this is actually pre-Ed White. This is the 57 based. So sort of similar to Ed White case. Steel bezel. It had the broad arrow hands. Just a really cool watch, and in real life it's not this blurry, I promise you that. So and they did a re-edition of the exact dimensions and everything, which is absolutely gorgeous, and a watch I personally want to own. This is the coaxial version with the crazy coaxial movement inside, which makes it a little bit on the thicker side and a little bit of a bigger watch, but it's still wearable for most people. You know, I can still pull this off personally, and it's just a really nice watch. A bit thick for my liking, if I'm completely honest. It's just, and I find this with all the coaxials, or most of them, I just find them a bit too thick and a bit too cumbersome personally. But they are great options for those looking for a chronograph. Enjoying my CO5, yeah. So my dad bought a Gekota as well. I mean, I saw about 2 other people did as well. So I'm glad people are enjoying them and supporting them. I'm a fan of what Gekota are doing. Yeah, definitely. Never seen one in the flesh though. I mean, for the price, I'd say order one and enjoy it. I mean, obviously, depending on circumstances right now, not everyone can do that, but yeah. I'm so close to buying one of those Gekotas. I mean, if you can afford it, and you're in a position where financially, you know, you haven't got to worry too much right now. I know not everyone's in that position. Then go for it, man. Go for it. Licking the windows so fine. What are you on about, Dad? Can you show the chrono next to the Seamaster? Ah, this one. This might have been the one. The reverse panda, yes. This is a Breitling top time. So I have a post coming out. What day is it today? I don't even know what day it is. Some day this week, it might be today, showcasing the new Breitling that was released. Because I had a Sprint reference 2010 from 1969 that is almost identical to the new top time they just released. But this is another top time, cushion case, reverse panda, bright orange second hand, which is super, super cool. And this is from 1968 or 9? 1969-17, it's a reference 2211, and it is awesome. Let me show you on wrist. I think vintage Breitling offers some incredible value as well. I mean, look at the case shape. How cool is that? It's so 70s. Just a really, really cool watch. And the price of this right now is just ridiculously cheap on the website. I mean, it's bonkers, guys. It's bonkers. And the strap pairing as well. Really cool watch. Really, really cool watch. Hello, Joshua. How are you doing? How are you doing? Another bonkers watch is this beauty. That is not in focus. There we go. Sort of see it now. So this is a Jumbo Seamaster. Really, really cool. 18 karat gold, which already makes it quite nice. Incredible condition. And a jumbo. So jumbo means it's 37mm, which for the year that this is, which I have to jog my memory, you'll have to excuse me, 1968, it's incredibly rare. Not only that, it's a Seamaster from 1968, 18 karat gold, jumbo, great condition, but it's also a chronometer. So it has the same caliber inside that the Constellations of the same era had. So you've got 1,000,001 things that make this far rarer than a Constellation, and it's not that much more expensive than a Constellation from the same era. I mean, how can you go wrong? How can you go wrong? So it's a very cool piece. Are there any watches that you wouldn't buy that are just way overpriced? I mean, it's a tough one to say, because obviously being in the trade, my ethos for buying for the company is very different to buying for myself, right? You know, my personal watches, most of them are under £500. You know, I've got Zeniths, I've got a couple of my own watches on here. Hamilton, this is such a cool watch. I love this. The services, what else is on here? The Gekota, the Fears, you know, the Laurier. Actually, that's for sale. I don't even know what I have for sale anymore, but most of my watches are under £500. So for me, my definition of value right now, because all the money goes back into the business, is very different to what it would be if all my money wasn't going back into the business, if that makes sense. Now, to actually answer your question, rather than being a politician, I mean, I probably wouldn't personally buy a Nautilus or anything like that, because I do think it's way overpriced right now in the current market. That being said, I would buy a 15202 ST, which is also overpriced, but I love it. So again, it just goes back to everything I always preach, which is buy what you like. You know, if you really like something and you're going to own it forever, as long as you can afford it, it doesn't really matter what you pay, as long as you're never in a position where you have to sell it, right? So I think that's important to remember. You know, the discussion of value gets said all the time. More important than value is what you enjoy. And if you find a really good example, especially when we're talking vintage, you're not going to pay the same price you might find one on eBay for. For example, this, I believe this is the only jumbo reference of this model for sale online. There's a steel version on eBay, I think, but again, it's not the same, so you'd pay more for this one. So again, it just comes down to personal preference and personal thoughts on value, really. Which case shape do you prefer? I mean, the round is always preferable because it's just easier to wear, but I do love cushion. At the end of the day, I own cushion watches, and I think it's massively underrated. The Fears Brunswick, this is not Brunswick, but the Brunswick cushion shape is perfect. The case size, dimensions, everything perfect on wrist. So I love those. Perfect birth year watch, 1968. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You should totally buy it, Dad. There you go. Thoughts on Laurier? I think they're really cool, and you'll have to forgive me if I'm pronouncing it really wrong. Design-wise, let's see if I can get these in focus. There is, obviously, similarities with the broad arrow hands and the design and the loom pots and everything like that. It is a really, really cool watch. And I think value for money, again, we're talking about value for money, they offer a lot of value, you know. I think you can still get these new, I'm unsure. But they're cool watch. I've got it on the website. It is for sale, but I mean, if no one buys it, I don't really care because I enjoy it and I will continue to enjoy it. Sometimes you buy watches for stock and then you end up really enjoying them, but you still have to put them up for sale just to justify having them, right? Just in case they sell. Just in case. Lisa says, do you find any materials used in manufacturing of watches or the watch dials and straps that do not age well over time? I mean, I get asked a lot about base metal and gold plating and stuff like that. So this is a chrome case, so it's chrome plated basically over a brass or a base metal. And what it does, it pits over time and it starts coming off, and it's not very good. So yes, these don't age very well usually, but I mean, for watches like this, you're not really going to find them stainless steel anyway. So gold plating, stuff like that. Bronze is an interesting material that patinates over time. It oxidizes and goes a very sort of dark colour. So it really depends on what it is you're looking for. I wouldn't say there's a material to avoid. I mean, if you like the watch, buy the watch. But there's definitely some due diligence and education that needs to go into it. You know, it's what I said about gold plating. I said if you want a gold-plated watch and there's a gold-plated watch you like, understand the effects that gold plating will have over time. You know, when I used to work retail, I used to sell Michael Kors at retail, and their gold plating was awful. It used to just oxidize and go crazy if a bit of perfume hit it and go weird colors and stuff. So, you know, understanding that and understanding the kind of person you are, if you are active, you know, if you have slightly oilier skin, it's understanding the effects of that. You know, even on silver watches, old silver watches, they tarnish as well, they oxidize. It's more of a protective layer that can be cleaned quite easy, but it's just things to sort of know and educate yourself on. And then there's materials like ceramic. You know, again, I worked retail with Amiga, and I did see some horror stories, you know, where people, well, very, very few, thankfully, but, you know, lugs completely taken off and crazy shit, because ceramic is one of those materials, just like steel, if you hit it hard enough, it will break. Now, the thing with steel is it will dent or it will, you know, go weird, whereas ceramic can shatter and it can snap off and break and do all kinds of weird stuff. So, things to be wary of. Now, thankfully, it's very, very rare, and I think if you are incredibly hard on your watches, then probably avoid stuff like that. But if you hit your ceramic watch hard enough that it breaks, it probably would have broken your steel watch as well, because they're both pretty reliable metals. Vintage or modern? It's a tough one. I have both. You know, in my personal collection, I've got both vintage, very early vintage. I mean, I've got a lot more watches than what I'm showing personally on the table, and I've also got modern watches, you know, that I love and adore. So, again, buy what you like. You know, I've always liked the Hamilton and this sort of designer watch. The vintage versions of this are usually around 33mm, and the cases are like an aluminium composite. I don't personally like how the cases look on the older ones. Whereas this option gives everything that vintage has, style and design wise, at an affordable price, and also looks fantastic, you know. So always buy what you like. Always. Love the Laurier bracelet. Yeah, it's a really great bracelet. You you know, especially when you consider the price, and usually with micro brands you get absolutely terrible bracelets. I mean, you look at most Seikos, and case in point, let's use the Turtle. Yeah, I mean, you can hear it already. They're terrible bracelets. You know, I mean, the Turtle bracelet's a bit better, and so is the Monster bracelet. But I mean, it's still a pressed metal clasp. They just don't feel awfully reliable. Whereas the bracelet on this is very, very good. You know, milled metal as opposed to pressed, and just high quality. And it's even screw links as well. So, yeah, definitely. Check in the post. Good, good. It is very well made. I think massively underrated. Well, I think we'll see them get more popular. If you're hard on watches, buy a G-Shock. Yeah, I mean, if you're that hard on watches, yeah, buy a G-Shock. You know, even like a Seamaster or a Submariner and stuff, like a reliable, solid watch that you haven't got to worry about, they will survive. You know, even a Turtle. If you're hard on your watches, just, you know, understand, be self-aware to how you are with your watches. You know, if you pick up your watches and you've only owned them 3 weeks and it's battered, then maybe avoid ceramic. Active person who's in sports industry but also needs a watch for smart occasions too. Which watches do you recommend? Okay, so active person in the sports industry. If you're wanting to wear a watch whilst you play sports, it depends on what sports you play in, what activities, but I would say just get something that you don't have to worry about. You know, like my dad said above, a G-Shock. You know, get something that if you did smash, it's not a big deal, or if you did hit on something, it's not a big deal. For the smarter occasions, go with what you like, 100%. You haven't really got to worry about the metals and things like that when you're not active, or when you're in a smarter occasion, because you're probably not running around. You never know, you might be James Bond, you know, but you're probably not running around in a smart dress or tuxedo or something like that. So which watches are on consignment and would possibly be open for trade? Kevin, feel free to email me. Email me info@kibblewatches.co.uk, and I can give you the list of stock that is open for trade. It's probably the easiest way, because I've not got anywhere near all my stock on the table. So Aquaterra would be great. Yeah, Aquaterra is great. I mean, Lisa, if you're looking for an option that covers both things, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, right? Because you're looking for something that's going to cover every single aspect that it could possibly cover. It's a difficult thing to do. You know, I would agree with Kevin. An Aquaterra is a great option because you've got the sportiness of the Aquaterra, especially on a bracelet. I know this is a Seamaster, but you get my point. So you get all the things that you'd want in a sports watch. You know, reliability, water resistance, a very, very reliable in-house coaxial movement, everything like that. And then you could even put it on a leather strap and they look great on leather straps. So Aquaterra is a fantastic option. 10k to spend on a watch. What you buy? 10k. £10,000 on one watch. I mean, I'm really bad. If I had £10,000 to actually just spend on a watch or watches, I'd probably go down the route of having multiple watches and just building a collection with 10k. But if I had to buy one watch, I'd probably go with something like this because I just think it's absolutely awesome. It's probably what I'd go for. Or the Grand Seiko GMT. I really love that. Or a what's it called? Rolex Oyster Perpetual white dial classic. It's nowhere near 10k, but I think it's a really, really cool watch. Really cool. Underrated for sure. For sure. Yeah, guys, if you've got any questions, guys and girls, you know, feel free to ask them. More than happy to answer any questions. Maybe you see something on the table you want to know a bit more about, or my opinion, you know, things like that. Just ask away. This is one that dropped on the website recently. The Speedmaster Reduced, as some people call them. This is the triple date. Guys, again, you'll have to forgive me for... Come on, focus, you rubbish thing. I will figure it all out. But there's the Speedmaster Reduced triple date. Really, really cool watch. And this one isn't the stacked movement. So a lot of people give a lot of hate to the Speedmaster Reduced models, and there is kind of a valid reason. A lot of the time they use what's called a stacked movement. So you have an automatic movement with a chronograph module built on top of that. So technically you've got two movements that work together. but it's not one movement that's integrated all together like a chronograph would be, right? So because of that, when it comes to servicing, they're a nightmare. So a lot of watchmakers won't even touch them, or if they do, they charge a bit more, because they're technically having to strip two movements and build and put them back together, as opposed to taking apart a chronograph movement and it all going back together. Now, an indicator to tell if it's a stat movement, there's many ways, just look at what there is, but a quick one is the crown won't be aligned with the pushers. Now, that isn't always the case, it doesn't always mean it's a stat movement, there are other things, but that's usually a quick giveaway if you don't know your watches at all and you're wondering whether it is. So, yeah. But I owned a reduced personally, and I owned a stacked movement reduced. My advice, if you have one of those, enjoy it. If you're not too worried about service costs and everything like that, buy what you like. Yeah. Love my triple date, highly recommend, just hard to read the time. I mean, it's not the most legible watch, that is for sure. There is a lot going on that dial. It's a silver dial against a silver, backdrop, silver case, silver. So yes, it is a bit difficult to tell the time sometimes. But let's be honest, how often do we actually use our watches to tell the time? I mean, a lot of people go mad at me whenever I say that, like, I always use it to tell the time. Yeah, okay. If you do, then fair enough. But, I mean, it's not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. We're kind of past the point of these being completely tool watches. I mean, there was a Talking Watches episode recently on a Dinky where the guy says the one thing you never hear of why someone collects watches is because they want to tell the time. And it's true. It's true. What else is there? What do you think are really underrated vintage watch brands? Zenith. Whenever anyone asks, it's the first brand I always say, Zenith. The reason being, they offer really great movements. The movements are really, really cool. They offer a lot of high beat movements, and also they work very closely with Movado. There's a lot of co-signed Zenith and Movado watches. This Big Blue, there's a lot of them out there with Movado with a Zenith logo. They just worked a lot together on movements and case constructions and different things back in the day, as a lot of brands did. So Zenith every single time gets my vote. Other than Zenith, Tissot, Longines, the usual suspects, Omega, they're all great options, but Zenith 100%. And I think we're going to see a resurgence. I think we're going to see them spike up in price. I have a white dial of these being worked on as we speak, the Zenith Defy. So keep an eye out for that in the coming months or so, or whenever all this is over. Lisa says, thanks Kevin, we'll look into the Omega. Yeah, it's a very good option, the Aquaterra. I need one watch that I can wear to a wedding, but also wear it at work. I was thinking Tudor Black Bay 32. Yeah. Tudor Black Bay 32 is great. If you're looking for a smaller watch, I would say the Black Bay is a great option. I own the Black Bay 36. I did sell it, and for me personally, I would rather go with a Rolex Oyster Perpetual or a Explorer. I know it's more expensive, but that's just my personal opinion. Whenever I personally wore my Black Bay, it did feel like I was owning something just because I couldn't get the other thing, which it was for me. So if it's not that case for you, if you love the Black Bay, go for the Black Bay. Should I buy an Orient as a cheaper alternative to Seiko, or save a bit more for a Seiko? That's an interesting question. I mean, it depends on what you prefer, right? So this Seiko Tile, great watch. I would highly recommend it to anyone. However, if you are looking for a diver and you don't really care about what it looks like or anything like that, and you're not drawn to the Seiko more than the Orient, I'd say the Orient Komatsu, or however you say it, offers far more than the Seiko at a far less price. I think it's less. So I would actually say Orient right now are offering better value for money than Seiko. And I think there's quite a few people out there who would agree with that statement. However, I just prefer the look of this Seiko over the Komatsu. I do like the red Komatsu they do, the Orient Mako Komatsu or whatever it's called. I would like to own that one day, for sure, and I think I probably will. So, yeah. And again, buy what you like. I say it every time, buy what you like. Underrated vintage watch brands, Universal Geneva. Yep, agreed. Definitely underrated. Definitely underrated. They have definitely come up though. I mean, when you look at the pole routers or the pole routers or however you want to pronounce it, they have skyrocketed in price. I remember when I first started out buying and selling watches, all those years ago, those were just starting to pick up. People were starting to pay attention to them, and the prices that they are today compared to what they were, it just amazes me. it amazes me. So Universal Geneva is a brand that is getting traction, especially their vintage chronos. They are hot and they are a lot of money. So I still think Zenith are underrated over Universal Geneva personally. Depends on which Seiko or Orient. That is true, Kevin. That is very true. Would you have a bronze watch in your personal collection, and which one? I did have a bronze watch in my personal collection. I owned the Lumtech M54. I have a Lumtech for sale on the website right now, the M78. Very similar design to what I had, but it was bronze. We've got a bronze watch on the table. The Crystal Ward, really cool watch. A lot of value for money, especially with the blue. I enjoyed having a bronze watch. I think they're cool. I probably would own one again. The only thing is with bronze, obviously it patinates and it oxidizes. That's the whole point. For me, that just got old a bit quick. You know, I think it's a cool thing and it's a cool alternative material that people use. But for me, it just became a bit of a gimmick a bit too quick. That being said, not owning one personally for a long time, I'd probably own one again. But I'd probably also sell it again. So, yeah. Get Seiko, so much history and heritage. There definitely is, Josh. There definitely is, Joshua. There's a lot of heritage in Orient as well, though. Don't disregard Orient. I think a lot of people do. And I think if you've ever handled an Orient, especially the Mako, you know, the Mako prices, the Mako 2, are just as affordable as Seiko 5s and are way better than Seiko 5s. And I'm going to get a lot of hate for that, but the Orient just shits all over the Seiko 5, for sure. And the Komatsu and the other options are really great as well. Zenith, so are the real watch enthusiast deal? Yeah, definitely. Got an El Primero chronograph. Very nice, Neville. Very nice. Yeah, the El Primero is one of my favourite watches. Obviously, it comes in so many variants, but I absolutely adore this watch right here. It's been a grail of mine for a long time. I will personally own one of these one day. I'm just going to hold out till financially it's not such a bad idea for me. But also I'm going to look for probably a new old stock or as close to new old stock condition full set, which is going to be near impossible, but I'm a patient guy for the personal collection. So, yeah. Sold an Orient Ray and Mako because the bezel action felt like a tin can. Yeah, they do feel a bit tinny, but that being said, I don't think Seiko are that much better. You know, this doesn't feel very good. It has bezel wobble. I mean, the misaligned chapter rings. I don't think I've ever owned a Seiko that hasn't got a misaligned chapter ring. Whereas Orient are definitely a lot better. They still have a few issues, but they're a lot better. And the Komatsu doesn't have a chapter ring, so they can't get it wrong, which is very helpful. So, yeah, it depends on what it is you're looking for, really. James, who said men can't do two things at once? Just seen your post on Instagram. I am a multi-talented man. What can I say? What can I say? So yeah, feel free to ask questions, guys. Feel free. I mean, yeah, I'm on Instagram right now, and I've just gone outside whilst talking to you guys, taken a photo of a watch I no longer have, and put it on Instagram. Magic. Absolute magic. I have two Orient great watches. They definitely are. I think the first Makos are terrible. I don't like them. I don't like the extra crown for the date. You know, it just feels lazy. But that is me personally. So yeah, if you like Orient, go for Orient for sure, for sure. So guys, any more questions? Feel free to ask them. I'm probably going to do this again, and what I might do, because this was very random, I'm going to try and figure out this camera. It's a webcam, so it might stay like this and terrible. But once this is all over, maybe I'll make this a proper series. You know, get a camera set up, do it properly. Maybe Q&A style, like quite a few of the YouTubers out there. I don't know. We'll see. Definitely want to bring back the YouTube channel. I've been saying it for a long time, and now I'm stuck inside with nothing to do. I thought we might as well do a live stream. Maybe we'll do this again. Joshua says, not a fan of modern Orient or modern Seikos. Why do you think a lot of watch collectors disregard vintage Seikos? They seem to be made properly back in the day. Yeah, vintage Seiko are great. I think a lot of people disregard them because there's a few reasons. They made a lot of models, and you know, learning which ones are good and which ones are a bit crap takes some time. Also, just the amount of Frankensteins out there is where a lot of people just get completely turned off vintage Seiko. They just don't know what they're buying. Same with vintage Oris. You know, the amount of people I see on Instagram, people who I know very well, who have complete made up Orises and Seikos, and I just can't. I don't have the heart to tell them, you know. And everyone in the comments doesn't seem to know either. It's like, oh my god. So there's a lot of missing information and a lot of education that still needs to happen. Maybe I'll do videos on that in the future and sort of teach people how to avoid those, because it's they're not even close to real. Oftentimes they don't even have real movements. But yeah. So maybe I'll do a video on that in the future. That might be quite an interesting one. Guybrush, oh, where have you been? You still got the watch channel then? Yes, I've been building the business. You know, I have kibblewatches.co.uk now, which is this right here. Buy and sell watches. It's what I've been doing for a long time now. You know, this is where all my energy and effort has been, rather than the YouTube. But I do plan to bring it back, and we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. COVID-19 is nonsense, bro. It's an exercise in control scene. Who will listen? Fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of people dying, and I know some of those people, so I wouldn't say it's nonsense, but fair enough. Just put Seconda Racquetta on for the first time in a few months. Jamie, very nice. I have a Seconda Racquetta. I have two. My dad gifted me one when I had a bike accident and smashed the one I had on my wrist, and then I got the one that got smashed repaired. Pretty cool. Great to see and hear from you, James. Take care. Be safe. Yeah, you too. You and your brother. Keep well. A nice piece, definitely. Well, guys, I think I'm going to call it there. It has been very fun doing this. I hope you've all enjoyed it. And maybe I'll do it again tomorrow. Maybe I'll try and get some more structure to this, because it's been very random. I hope you've enjoyed it. Any comments, anything you want to say, you know, feel free to leave them. Let me know. This is going to be available on YouTube to watch after, in case you missed it. And thank you all for watching. Keep well. Wash your hands. Remember, keep washing your hands. And see you all again soon. Take care.